So what I would like to talk about today is Agile in the government space. This is a topic that's not talked about as often as it probably should be. Agile is comes from the software world, particularly the business software world, but it's being used in all domains now, including government. So as you heard, I'm along with Mark Lyons, I'm the co-creator of the Discipline Agile Toolkit. I've been helping organizations around the world to understand and adopt and apply agile and lean strategies, often in a very wide range of situations and often very complex situations. And I want to share some of my experiences with you today. So I'm going to begin by talking about agile application in the US federal government. I'm actually a Canadian. I live in Toronto, Canada. But being next to the largest country in the world, we end up doing a lot of work down there. And so anyways, I'll share some experiences of some of the things that they've been doing. Then I'll overview Discipline Agile and very quickly talk about some of the barriers to adoption that often aren't well understood by Agilists. And Agile adoptions have a bit of a rough time in many organizations, because in some ways because of Agile purism, and we'll talk about the implications of that. So about a year ago now, I was involved with writing. I was one of the experts, SMEs, subject matter experts, on this white paper written by the Project Management Institute and the Samuel Freeman Trust with the U.S. government. And basically exploring what was going on in the U.S. federal government regarding Agile and how they can go about bringing Agile across the government in a wider manner. So some of the endeavors that we heard of, we explored and talked to different teams and found out what they were doing and how they were succeeding and what challenges they were running into. But we saw the U.S. Air Force was doing Agile in some interesting situations. We also saw that the U.S. Digital Service, this is an internal group within the government supporting other people to be more effective, had run 166 successful projects over the past few years. And they had a very high success rate with bringing Agile into a very wide range of situations. So they were actively supporting Agile ways of working. And then outside of the US at the World Bank itself has been doing Agile for quite a while. So there are, the point of this slide is that there are known examples of Agile in government. And so I think an important thing that I want to bring out is that you can do it too. There's nothing special about government. There's a few self-inflicted problems and challenges, but there's nothing wrong. There's nothing special about Agile, or there's nothing special about government. The government agency can and should be striving to be as agile as they can possibly be, and to be fair, many of them are. We're seeing this around the world. So a few critical recommendations from the report was that the government, at least the U.S. government, should prefer Agile. Whenever given the chance, they should be as agile as possible, and to stop the preference for traditional was part of that implication. They should actively champion it. They should do what they can to reduce barriers to adoption, to make it easier to allow people to be as effective as they can be. And you should share their experiences. There wasn't as much sharing going on. So this is one of the reasons why the government didn't realize that government people didn't realize they could be agile, because nobody was talking about it. And of course, they need to invest in their people. They need to train. They need to coach and mentor as well, just like in non-government agencies. So this was some of the findings that we found. So what's Discipline Agile? So Discipline Agile is a toolkit. It's not a framework. So many of you might be familiar with Scrum or SAFe or LESS, and those are wonderful frameworks. But the frameworks tell you what to do. They often limit your choices, and they say, here's a collection of best practices. Here's what we recommend, and just do this. And the challenge, of course, is that different people everybody's unique, every team is unique, every situation is unique. So one size does not fit all. So a process that works well for my team won't work well for your team because you're different people in a different situation with different skills and different priorities. So you really want to learn how to how to create your own way of working, how to tailor your own approach, to choose the right way for you, have a fit for purpose approach. And this is what all the successful organizations do. The Amazons and the Googles of the world, they tailor their own way of working from existing practices and sometimes from new practices that they create themselves. They don't follow these defined frameworks. They need to be more effective than that in order to be competitive. So Discipline Agile is an umbrella over hundreds of techniques. So instead of telling you, here's a handful of practices, follow them, do what you're told, in Discipline Agile, what we do is we take a step back and we say, here's what you need to think about. Here's what you need to consider to be effective. Here are your options, and we put them into context. So you choose the right techniques for you. The previous speaker was talking about failing fast, how the agile way of working is failing fast. That's actually a stupid thing to do. Why would you want to fail? Why would you want to fail? Particularly when you don't have to. And you are going to fail every so often. But you don't need to go out of your way to fail. So why don't you choose to make more intelligent decisions and fail a lot less often? So you do a little bit of thinking, right? So we help you to identify the techniques that are right for you, that unique collection of techniques that are right for you, for the situation that you face, because I don't know your situation. Neither do the people behind Scrum or Safe or Less. They don't know you. They don't know what you're trying to do. So when they tell you, here's the best practices that will work for you, how could that possibly be true? It just can't. They're selling you a story. They're telling you what worked well for them. Okay, fair, but it's not realistic. So the scope of Discipline Agile is business agility. So instead of having Agile just in software, which is great, it's where it started, we look at the bigger picture. We look at enterprise agility. So we have organized the toolkit into 4 layers. A foundational layer where, basic concepts, the mindset, the fundamentals of Agile and Lean, even traditional techniques, because we can be respectful and recognize that some techniques from the traditional world work very well. So why wouldn't you want to adopt them if they make sense for you? And then, people issues and how do you choose your way of working is in the foundation layer. This is material that's applicable regardless of the type of team you're in. The next layer is discipline DevOps. So DevOps is table stakes now. You need to be effective at IT in order to succeed as a modern organization. So, how do you do DevOps at an enterprise class level? It's not just about, delivering into production, quickly. That's important, but it's, there's a much wider aspect to that. And these little hexes are what we call process blades or process areas. So instead of just focusing on software development, Discipline Agile delivery in this case, the Discipline Agile Toolkit looks at the entire organization process and and provides options and ways of working for all areas. Because if your team is really agile, but another team that you need to collaborate isn't, they will hold you back. And so your organization is not really agile if these other groups, like the finance group or the procurement group, is working in traditional manners and slowing everything down. Building upon DevOps are value streams. So how do you bring products and services to your customers? Or in the case of a government agency, how do you bring products and services to the citizens that you're supposed to serve? And then wrapping that is the rest of the enterprise. How do we support the value streams? How do we support bringing these products and services to the outside world? So in DA, we look at the whole picture, because all of these groups, all of these areas within your organization can potentially improve, and they need to improve in order to be more effective. So having said all this, government agencies, I should go back, government agencies might have, are a little bit different. So for example, Instead of talking about marketing and sales, government agencies generally don't talk about sales. And they generally don't talk about marketing, but they do talk about communications. So there's slightly different wording. There's slightly different things going on in a government than in a business organization. And that's okay, right? You can still leverage the value of the toolkit in government agencies. We've also, the Discipline Agile Toolkit, because it's focused on enterprise agility, we go beyond the Agile Manifesto. Everybody, will point to the Manifesto for Agile Software Development as the definition of the mindset for Agile, and it's certainly a good thing, but it's 20 years old. Frankly, it solved the problems that it addressed the problems that software developers had 20 years ago. Well, we've learned a few things in 20 years, and we've also applied Agile far beyond software development. So the original Agile Manifesto, even though it was wonderful, doesn't really get the job done. So in DA, we look at the bigger picture, and we are solving the enterprise Agile picture. And we describe the mindset in terms of three things: a collection of principles. So we believe in these principles. Because we believe in these principles, we make promises both to ourselves and to the people that we work with. This is how we're going to behave. And then in order to fulfill these promises, we follow these guidelines. This enables us to be more agile, to be more effective. And what's interesting about this mindset is that it's mostly lean. It's lean ways of thinking that enable you to scale and apply Agile across your organization. So anyways, there's a bunch of great ideas there, and all this good sort of stuff is online. These slides will also be shared with you as well. So you don't have to madly write all these things down. So just to wrap up here before I go to Q&A, many Agile adoptions hit what I call an invisible barrier. They can't get out of software. They can't get out of the software space. They're successful in IT, but that's about it. And one of the reasons why is most of the literature, most of the coaching skills are focused on software teams, which is good for software teams, but it's not that good for finance teams or marketing teams or procurement teams. So we need to expand our horizons. So just to do a quick example, so say I'm coaching a software team, and my software team needs to work with the finance people in order to get money. I need to fund the next round of, I need to fund my next release. And my finance team, they're not so agile. They want me to, produce a business case and, do a couple weeks of planning in order to give me more money for several months worth of work. It's crazy, but they believe in that. They think that's good practice. So what do? Similarly, I need to work with the people management folks, the HR people, in order to hire more people to join my team. But once again, the HR people, not as agile as they can be, and they have a different way of working. They have a different mindset. They have different priorities than my software development team. And finally, I need to work with the release management folks in order to release my product into the marketplace. We're not quite doing DevOps yet. So as a result, I'm still working with, manually with these other people to help us release. And they have their procedures, they have their ways of working. So the problem I've got is I've now hit this invisible barrier. If I can't interact effectively with these other teams, with these other groups, and convince them to experiment with new ways of working, then I will be stuck. My team can be as agile as we want, but if I can't convince these other teams to loosen up a bit and become more agile, then we will never really truly be effective as an organization. And this is where the challenge lies. So how do we do that? So let's take a look at this problem with the finance team. Well, in the Discipline Agile Toolkit, we give you options. We don't tell you what to do. We don't say this is the only way of financing a project. Instead, we say there's different things you need to think about. Here are some options. Some options are better than others. So currently, my finance team is wanting to do fixed price and with an informal request. There's more effective ways of doing this. So on this chart, we can see, well, there's 4 better strategies than doing fixed price. So maybe we can experiment with one of them. So I go to the tool, but unfortunately on my team, I don't have any finance people. None of us are experienced in finance. This is why we're having problems communicating, collaborating with the finance people, because we can't speak intelligently to what they're concerned about. So as a result, we sound like children to them. And frankly, we are from a finance point of view. So we need to up our game. So we go to the toolkit, and this is online free of charge at @PiEmAy.org, or you can buy the Choose Your Wow book, which is a reference book, and we can learn more about these techniques. We can find out about how they work and speak intelligently, and then negotiate with the finance people of working with, of experimenting with a better technique. Maybe we can do stage gate with them. They might not be ready for time and materials, but maybe we can do stage gate. So we can identify this technique to work with them, to experiment with, to see if it works. And earlier I was talking about how failing fast is not a great idea. So many agile coaches, if they know anything about finance, probably the only thing they know is, well, the way you fund an agile team is through a time materials approach. That's great, but it's not the only way. It's not the best way. And in this case, it probably won't work in this organization because they've tried that in the past and failed. So now they believe that they can't do it. So, and they might not be skilled enough to do it, to be fair, right? So if you try to do time materials again, you'll probably fail again in this situation. So failing fast is a stupid thing to do. Instead, what you'd rather do is choose a technique that you actually have a better chance of succeeding with. In this case, stage gate. Try that, get experience doing that, and then after that, move up to time materials. So work your way up. That you would rather succeed early than fail fast. So this is the promise of the DA toolkit. We can make better choices and fail less often. So just to wrap up, I invite you to do something great. So at ПиЭмАй, our mission is to help you to work smarter, to help you to be a successful change maker, and to drive the change that you want to see in your organization and in the world at large. So you can learn more about Discipline Agile. We have 4 certifications and training courses. The introduction is called Discipline Agile Scrum Master. This is this is more about being a team member and how to improve at the team level. The Discipline Agile Senior Scrum Master, which is about leading teams and coaching teams, coaching at the team level in process improvement. The Discipline Agile Coach, which is about coaching across teams. So earlier when I was talking about, how do we work with the finance team and the HR team and so on, those are the types of skills that you learn in the Discipline Agile Coach to help you break out of the software world into the entire organization. And then, of course, the DAVSC, the Value Stream Consultant. How do we coach across many teams and improve the value streams that enable us to bring products and services to our customers, to the citizens that we serve? So thank you very much. Once again, I apologize for being late. Stuff happens. But anyways, I guess we've got time for a few questions, I hope.